So we will start from this economics current affair, and it will be covering the yearly current affairs. Okay. So the very first topic that we are going to start today is National Multidimensional Poverty Index. Okay. This the economics that I am going to take today covers more than 1 year. Okay. It starts from January, approximately January to January 2024 till now. Okay. So this will be wider coverage, but I will try to cover only the prelims related things, so that whatever the questions comes into in the prelims, so you will be able to deal with them effectively, right? So the very first topic that we are going to discuss today is the National Multidimensional Poverty Index. So what this index is, this index is launched by or released by Niti Aayog. Okay, it is a discussion paper, and it has been titled as National Multidimensional Poverty Index Poverty in India since 2005 and 2006. So it was a discussion paper that was issued by the Niti Aayog. So what this discussion paper talks about, okay, we will discuss it later. But what is multidimensional poverty? So what is poverty? Before going for this multidimensional poverty, we should know what is poverty. Poverty is nothing but a state of deprivation. State of deprivation. So if a person is deprived of something, it may be related to hunger. Okay. If he is deprived of food, then it leads to hunger, and it leads to poverty in the terms of hunger. Okay. If he is deprived of his health benefits, then he is health related poverty. Okay. If he is deprived of money, then it is economic poverty. So poverty can be of different types. Okay, so but what actually was happening till recently, or a decade back, people were considering that whoever doesn't have a money, doesn't have money, is poor, right? So, but what actually has happened, if a person is having ample amount of money, okay, money is good, okay, he has money, ample amount of money, but he doesn't have good or drinkable water. Drinkable water. So if he doesn't have drinkable water along with him, and even by giving the money, he is not able to buy the drinkable water. Or even if he is able to buy, then he is able to buy, suppose, 1 liter of water, but but the daily requirement of his daily requirement is approximately 4 liter. So in that sense, he is poor. But this poverty has not been included in the multidimensional poverty till now. So that is why what actually is happening, that globally the shift is going on with respect to not only measuring the poverty, but measuring the multidimensional poverty. So we should be measuring more number of people. Okay, we should be measuring more number of people according to the different type of indicators. So that is why this multidimensional poverty type of concept came into being, and it refers to the measures that consider various factors or dimensions beyond income. So not only income, but there are many other dimensions also which should be considered in order to assess the multidimensional poverty. Okay. Now, what are the different dimensions? Those dimensions can be poor health, lack of education, inadequate living standards, like poor quality of work, or violence, among others. So these are some of the indicators which can also be assessed in order to assess if a person is in the poverty or not. Now, another thing that you should remember with respect to your prelims is that ending poverty is one of the goals of Sustainable Development Goal. That is goal number one. So that is why the focus of global players, okay, global bodies, is on eliminating this poverty. So SDG 1 also talks about elimination of poverty. Now, what are the measures? How to measure the multidimensional poverty? So we have gone through the multi-dimensional poverty. What is multi-dimensional poverty? And now we should be going for the how the measurement of multi-dimensional poverty is done. And you should always remember that LK-Foster method, LK-Foster method is being used for assessing the poverty. Okay, not only multi-dimensional poverty but also poverty in general. Okay, and this method is very important method, and it is also being used in order to assessing the other things also. Okay, so suppose unemployment also. So these are the methods. This is very basic method which is used to assess many economic indicators. Now, another thing is that global multi-dimensional poverty index is also there, which is a globally recognized methodology in order to compute the multi-dimensional poverty, and it is released by Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative along with the United Nations Development Program (UNDP), and it is being released since 2010. So you should remember that Global Materials Poverty Index is also being released, and it is released by these two organizations. So sometimes organizations are being asked by UPSC. Okay, and on these lines only, that Niti Aayog has now launched the National Multidimensional Poverty Index. This is the thing that you should remember. Okay, now if a person is deprived in one third or more of the 10 weighted indicators, that global multidimensional poverty index, I define them as a multidimensional poor. Okay. So if a person is poor in one third of indicators only, then he is recognized as multidimensionally poor. Okay. He may be poor, but in order to be multidimensionally poor, one third of the indicators, at least one third of indicators should be met. Okay. So what are the things that this global materials poverty index talks about, and what are the what are indicators that has been taken up by the Niti Aayog. Now we should discuss these. Okay, so one of the first indicator that is being taken by global materials poverty index also is the health. Okay, but if we talk about the global materials health index only, this nutrition and child mortality, these are the two indicators that are being taken up by the global multidimensional poverty index. But what actually has Niti Aayog also talked about is that Niti Aayog has also added this antenatal care here, okay, in order to assess the multidimensional poverty. Now, another indicator, you can read about these, how these indicators are calculated. This calculation is not very important for the prelims, but how, what are the number of indicators and which are the indicators and which are not the indicators should be remembered by you. Okay. And then another indicator that is being used by Niti Aayog and as well as the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index is education. And one third of the weight is given to the education. Now, in this one third weight is that years of schooling as well as school attendance. Okay. If a person is able to access the schools, then he is not poor. Okay, if he is not able to access the schools, then he will not be moving into the schools. A person or a child, if he is not going to the school, then he will remain poor throughout his life. Okay, so so by the number of years that he has devoted to the school or education, we are able to assess the poverty. Also, going to the school doesn't matter that a person will be out of the poverty only. He should be going there, and he should be having attendance also. He should be having good education, or attendance should be throughout the year. So the school attendance has also been taken as an indicator. So these are the two sub indicators of education indicator. The other indicator is the standard of living. So in this standard of living, cooking gas, sanitation, access to drinking water, electricity, housing, assets, etc., is taken by the global multidimensional poverty index till here. But what Niti Aayog has also done is that bank accounts. If a person is having bank accounts, then he has access to the finances. Finances may be in the sense of like income, or it may be in the sense of loans. So these are the two things. These are the two things that Niti Aayog has by itself has added into the multidimensional index analysis. Okay. Antenatal care as well as bank accounts. So these are the two indicators that you should remember that Niti Aayog has added into the other indicators that were available with Global Multidimensional Poverty Index. Okay, so what is this National Multidimensional Poverty Index that Niti Aayog has launched? It retains 10 original indicators of Global Multidimensional Poverty Index and has added two indicators, that is maternal health as well as bank accounts. So this I have already told you. And how to arrive at the with this multidimensional poverty index value is by multiplying the head count ratio H as well as the intensity of poverty A. Okay, so head count ratio is how many it is a number, but how many people are poor. Okay, and intensity of poverty is in how many indicators? In how many indicators a person is poor? The the more number of indicators the person is poor, then intensity of poverty will be higher. So we multiply these two factors, H and A, and we arrive at a value. Okay, we arrive at a value which should vary between 0 to 1. And by this, multidimensional poverty index is calculated. Okay, now Niti Aayog is the nodal agency for multidimensional poverty index calculation in India. Okay, and Niti Aayog uses the National Family Health Survey NFHS 5 to measure the National Multidimensional Poverty Index. So where this data comes up, data comes from National Family Health Survey. So these are the things that you should remember in order to solve any prelims related question. This will be related to the prelims question that this question can be asked in this domain. Okay, multidimensional poverty index. Now moving to the next topic. Is there any confusion in this to any student? Multidimensional poverty index. Anyone, if there is any issue? Okay. Moving to the next topic. Next topic is Unified Payment Interface (UPI). So UPI is one of the things that you all people know already know. Okay, you all people also use the UPI payments. So RBI has announced new rules and regulations in the UPI space, and we should be remembering that what are the limits new limits that has been set by the RBI, and other things will not be important for the what are the rules, what are the regulations. Going deep into the regulations will not be important for your prelims, but what is important for your prelims is that these things. That transaction limit for UPI payments made to the hospitals and education institutes has been increased from 1 lakh to 5 lakhs. Otherwise, the limit remains the 1 lakh. Okay, if you are paying to person, any other institute other than this hospital and education institute, then your limit will be 1 lakh. Otherwise, in these two sectors only, the limit has been increased to 5 lakh rupees. Okay. Now, you should also remember that some of the collections like credit card payment, if any person is doing, EMI if person is doing, then limit is rupees 2 lakh. So there are three levels to it. Okay. In general, it will be limit will be 1 lakh. Otherwise, if the credit card payments and EMI payments are to be done, then credit limit is 2 lakh. And if a person is has to pay for hospitals and education bills, then he has a limit of 5 lakh. So these are the things that you should remember. Otherwise, everything else will be very nitty-gritty to it. That will not be important for the prelims. So the next thing that you should remember is National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI. So NPCI, what is this NPCI? NPCI is an umbrella organization for operating this retail payments. So whatever the retail payments going on throughout the country, this NPCI is the single body that is regulating for it. And settlement system, retail payment and settlement. So whatever whoever is paying, and this NPCI is responsible for settling the payment, cutting the payment from the person who is sending and depositing it into the accounts of the person who is receiving it. It is initiative of RBI and Indian Banks Association. This NPCI has been made by two organizations, RBI as well as IBA, under the provisions of Payment and Settlement System Act 2007. So this Payment and Settlement System Act has been enacted, and through this digital payments interface has been developed by the RBI as well as Indian Bank Association. No, it has been incorporated as non-for-profit company. This company doesn't work for the profit. It only works for the easing the payment interface of the citizens. Right now, it has launched payment products such as RuPay credit card, IMPS, UPI, Bhim Aadhaar, Bharat Bill Pay. So these are the different payment interfaces that this NPCI body has launched. So you should remember that all those digital payment systems are being developed by National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI. Okay, now moving to UPI and its features. What are the features of UPI? UPI powers multiple bank accounts. So you already know that in a single UPI account you can link multiple banks. Okay, on a single mobile application. Okay, and this leads to ease of access. Okay, several banking features like transfer of funds, etc., can be done from any bank to any other. Okay, it was developed by NPCI in 2016 and built over IMPS infrastructure. So IMPS infrastructure was already present, and upon it, UPI interface has been developed. Now, next is it is most successful real-time payment system globally, providing simplicity, safety, and security to in the person-to-person as well as person-to-merchant transactions in India. So both type of transactions can be done person-to-person as well as person-to-merchant or trader, whatever you want to classify. So these are the benefits of UPI. So some of the new features of UPI that has come up is that credit line on UPI has been extended. So until now, what actually was happening is that in a UPI, if you have a amount in your account, okay, whatever the deposits that you have already made, those deposits only can be debited. Okay, you can make transactions on those payments only. Otherwise, now what has actually been done is that credit line or loan has been extended on UPI. So on UPI, you can access loan and you can transfer your money. Okay. So pre-sanctioned credit lines has been accessible from banks via UPI, and earlier only deposit amounts could be transacted. Right now, another thing is UPI Lite X. So it is an interface that works offline. It is UPI only, but it works offline. It doesn't require any internet connectivity. So you should be aware about these are the other things that are going on in the UPI sector. Okay, and it only works on those devices that support near field communication. What is near field communication? We will see. And another thing in the UPI space is UPI tap and pay. Tap and pay is that this NFC enabled QR codes will be there with the merchant. You will be going scanning them, and then you just tap on your mobile. You don't have to enter your UPI pin. Okay, you just tap it, and the money will be deducted from your account, and it will be credited to the merchant's account. So this is very simple, very easy that the transaction medium that has been made. Now, what is near field communication that we have talked about is that it is short range wireless connectivity. So what actually happens is that this is a POS. Okay, point of sale machine is there. What you can do if your mobile phone has NFC enabled. So when you will be bringing your mobile near to this POS machine, what actually will be happening? This POS machine will be taking out data from your mobile, data of the payment related. Okay, those payment related data will be there. And then when this machine will be able to see, and any person, those merchant will be entering the amount that needs to be paid, that amount will be reflected on your mobile, and then when you will be tapping on it, then this amount will be deducted from your mobile or bank account. So this is the near field communication. So it is a short range wireless connectivity technology that transmits data through electromagnetic radio fields to enable two devices to communicate with each other. So these are the two devices, POS machine as well as the your mobile phone. That those mobiles are connecting and interacting with each other, right? Now, initiatives to promote the UPI. So some of the initiatives have been taken by the government of India in order to promote this UPI. UPI has been enabled for secondary market. That is, UPI can be used to trade the equities. UPI Chalega campaign has been launched by NPCI to promote UPI as a safe, easy, and instant mode of transaction. Okay, UPI Lite has been launched that you have we have already talked about. MOU have been signed between Google and as well as NPCI to broaden the use of UPI payments, enabling travelers to make the transaction abroad. So in abroad also, these transactions can be done through UPI system. India's UPI is an overseas market. Overseas marketers also using, like we have launched UPI in Oman, UAE, France, Nepal, Bhutan, etc. So all these countries are also using UPI. And UPI 123 Pay has also been launched uh, for feature phones users who can use UPI payment service in the safe and secure manner. So these are some of the initiatives that has been taken in the UPI space. So what is important for your prelims is that what this UPSC can do. UPSC can bring a question in front of you that what is UPI Lite X? Okay, what is near field communication? So these are some of the things that can come up in front of you in the form of the question, and by knowing these things, you should be able to get okay. These are the things that are going on in the payments domain. Now, moving to the next topic. Is there any issue till now? If there is any issue, just you tell me it will be right. Now, next topic that we are going to discuss is G-securities. Okay, GSECs. So recently, Reserve Bank of India, RBI has permitted the lending and borrowing of G-securities, GSECs. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so G securities are the Reserve Bank of India permitted the lending and borrowing of G securities by issuing directions called RBI Government Securities Lending Directions 2023. So these name of these directions is not important, but you should remember that RBI has permitted this lending and borrowing of G securities. So till now, what actually was happening is that government securities were not very much tradable. Means whoever was holding those government securities was holding throughout the period. Okay, so very limited amount of trading was allowed. Now, RBI has permitted lending as well as borrowing of it. Okay, so lending operations can also be done. Okay, those were traded earlier, but lending, lending, taking the loan on it was not possible. Okay. Now, what are G securities? This is not important, but what is important is this: that G securities. What are G securities? So G security is a tradable instrument. This is launched or issued by the central bank or central government or maybe the state government. Okay. So what this is, it is just a type of debt that these state or the state government or the central government takes up, and they issue this government securities or the bonds, government bonds, and they take up money from the market, right? And these government securities can be short term or long term. Okay, if they are short term, then they are called treasury bills or T bills. Okay, the one once a question has also been asked by UPSC maybe 3 or 4 years back on this only T-bills. So T-bills are short-term debt by the center or state. Okay, its maturities are less than 1 year. Okay, these are issued on 91 days, 182 days, or maybe for 364 days, but not beyond 364 days, because going beyond 364 days will amount to 1 year. And for those 1 year term, long-term securities are issued. Okay, so these can be issued with a maturity of 1 year or more. Usually, they are issued between 5 years and 40 years. So these are the two types of government securities that are being issued. Okay. Now, central government, you should remember this also, that central government issues both treasury bills and bonds or dated securities. Okay. So government bonds or dated securities are long term and T bills are short term. Okay. So central government can issue short term as well as long term. That is T bills as well as bonds and dated securities. But what actually happens is that state governments can issue only bonds or dated securities. That is, the state governments can take only the long-term loans only. They can't take up short-term bonds, short-term loans. Okay, so they can't issue treasury bills, T-bills. Okay, so that is the fact that you should remember, because UPSC has already asked upon it, and it may repeat it. Okay, so GSECs carry practically no risk of default, hence they are called risk-free gilt-edged securities. Okay, so this term has also been asked by UPSC. What are risk-free gilt-edged securities? So government securities are not defaulted at all. Okay, so usually these government securities are issued by the central or state government, so they are not defaulted. They should be serviced by the central government or state government. So there are no risk of default. That is why these securities are called risk-free related edged instruments. Okay. Now, other GSECs has also been comes up in the news. That is, it includes the cash management bills (CMBs). They have been introduced in 2010 only. Before that, there was no concept of this CMBs, cash management bills. These are the new short-term loans, okay, to meet the temporary cash flow of a mismanagement of the government. So if there is mismatch in the flow, okay, if the flow is not coming with the taxes are not coming with the government, so government what what it does, it raises short-term loans from the market, and when the taxes are paid by the people, so this government pays the investors back. Okay, like T-bills only, they are like T-bills only. Okay, so case management bills are also same as T-bills, but what actually is happening is that they have maturity for less than 91 days. So what actually was happening was, for T-bills, there was no maturity beyond or lower than 91 days. So there was some another instrument that was needed, and the cash management bills are those instruments for which the government can take up the loans, and those loans should be paid within period of 91 days. They can't go beyond it. So government securities GSECs are issued through the auctions. They have been issued by the auction route only by RBI, and these auctions are conducted on eKuber or Core Banking Service Solutions (CBS) platform of RBI. So RBI maintains two platforms, that is eKuber as well as CBS platform, and there only the government securities are auctioned. So these are all about the government securities. Now, what are the benefits of government security? Why are people taking these government securities? Because they are low risk instruments that we have already talked. They are a stable source of income. So income is stable through these instruments. Securities such as state development loans (SDL) and special securities, oil bonds, Uday bonds, etc., provide attractive yield. So yields are very good for these securities. integrating GSECs in a diversified investment portfolio can help reduce the overall risk. So risk gets reduced because that we have already talked about that government is the borrower here and government doesn't default majorly. Okay, so what people do, people take up these government securities because they are very fairly risk free. So they, in order to reduce their risk, they take up this government securities. They are easily tradable in the market, and investors can buy and sell them very quickly. Okay, they are used as collateral to borrow funds in repo market also. So that is why these government securities have very high amount of benefit and also the demand also. So even if you go in the market and try to sell those GSECs, then everyone will be able to take it. Okay, no one will be going to deny it. Now, next is what are T-bills? T-bills are zero coupon securities. So no coupon is issued on the T-bills. You may have already read in the those static part of economics, and pay no interest rate. So there's no interest on T-bills. But what actually is happening is that they are issued at the discount and redeemed at the face value at maturity. So if a T-bill is to be issued by the government of 100 rupees, so 100 rupees T-bill will be issued by the government of India, and government of India will say that you pay only 93 rupees. You pay only 93 rupees, and once this T-bill will be maturing, once this the maturity on this maturity date of T-bill, you just take us, you just take 100 rupees from us instead of 93. Okay, so at this time you just pay 93 rupees only, and afterwards you take 100 rupees from us. So that is why what actually is happening, that there is no coupon on it, and there is no interest rate. Government doesn't say that we are providing you the interest, but you can consider it as an interest because at 93 only the GSEC was or this T-bill was taken by the investor, and 100 rupees were return that he got upon the maturity of T-bill. Right? Okay. Going for this dated securities, dated GSECs are securities that carry a fixed and floating coupon also. So coupon is interest rate. So those GSECs or those rated securities which are long term duration, they have interest rate upon it. So there is a fixed interest rate that is given on this GSECs, okay, rated securities, and people invest only by seeing the interest rate. They are not issued at a discount price. Okay, and the interest is paid on half yearly basis. It's on a 6-month duration. The interest rate is paid. So next is initiatives taken for government securities, GSEC. So some government has taken some of the initiatives in order to promote this government securities. So GSEC acquisition program has been launched. Under it, RBI conducts open market operations. So RBI goes and conducts the open market operations. Whoever wants to buy the government securities, they are able to buy. Whoever wants to sell, they sell it and purchases the GSECs from the market. Okay, it has central bank into controlling the excessive volatility faced in the market participants. So what actually happens whenever the inflation is very high and government and RBI what it wants to suck in the inflation, suck in the money. So government of India, sorry, RBI sells the government securities and takes up the money. Okay, if the inflation is very low, okay, but government wants or RBI wants to promote growth. So in order to promote growth, money supply needs to be very high. So what actually happens? RBI takes up the government securities and lets the money flow into the market. Okay, this is the like a open market operation in order to control the inflation. Government securities are traded in that respect. So RBI retail direct scheme is also there. Under this, retail investors will have the facility to open and maintain their retail direct glit account RDG account with RBI to access the GSEC platform. Okay, so any investor individual investor can also buy this government securities. Scheme for non-competitive bidding facility in auctions of GSECs has also been launched by government. So you should be remembering that what are the things that are going on in GSEC space, right? So this is all about the government securities. You should be remembering that what are the benefits of it and why this government securities are being issued and what are the types of government securities. So these are the things that will be important for your purpose. Now, moving to the next topic, petroleum exploration and production. So there's a very high amount of exploration of the petroleum and petroleum products that takes up in India, and also the production takes up. And what is the news? Why is this thing in the news? Is that because of ONGC, as it started the first crude oil production from its cluster to deep sea project in Krishna Godavari Basin. So KG Basin has already been in the news for many years now. Okay, and it is in the Bay of Bengal region. Okay, and now what actually has happened is that ONGC has started the first crude oil production from KG Basin. Okay, so petroleum basins in India. A petroleum basin provides the diverse collection of rocks as well as sediments, but most importantly, it contains source rocks. Okay. Source rock are specific shale formations in basin where oil and gas are formed. So there are deep down the surface, there are permeable type of rocks. Okay, here the shale gas or methane gas is trapped in these rocks. Okay, so these are the source rock for crude oil as well as methane, okay, or natural gas. Okay, there are 26 sedimentary basins in India, covering a total of 3.4 million square kilometers of India. Okay, so how many sedimentary basins are there in India? 26. You should remember the majorly there are 26 basins, and what you should remember some of the basins uh, which are most important in the production of crude oil as well as the natural gas. So ONGC is India's largest oil and gas producer, contributing to 72% of country's hydrocarbon production. So ONGC produces approximately 72% of country's hydrocarbons. Okay, so there was a map here also, but I think by taking the printout, this map has gone. Okay, let me. So, what are different type of sedimentary basins that are already available in India? One is KG Basin. KG Basin is here, right? KG Basin is here. Krishna Godavari region. Another region is here. This is called. This is near Mumbai. So it is called Mumbai High. Okay. Another basin is here in the Assam region. Okay. Here, Big Boy is there, from which major type of oil is being produced or extracted. Crude oil is extracted. Another major oil and gas production basin is here in the Rajasthan and Gujarat plus Rajasthan area, right? So these are some of the most important regions where this oil production and exploration is activity are taking place. So you should remember these some of these big or major regions, right? Okay. Now, Director General of Directorate General of Hydrocarbons. So DGH is one of the important bodies which have been formed to promote the sound management of the oil and natural gas resources. So in order to manage and who should be the companies who should be exploring this oil and gas, who should be producing these oil and gas, this all is being regulated by Director General of Hydrocarbons. Okay. Now, some of the data that is most important for prelims. is oil and gas market of India, and India is the third largest energy and oil consumer in the world. So if when it comes to the consumption, then we are the third largest energy and oil consumption country. 33% of the share of the oil and gas in India is primary energy. 85.7% approximately was import dependency of oil, while for natural gas it is 48%. So of the total requirement of the total consumption, we import 85% of the crude oil, and as far as the natural gas is concerned, we import approximately 48%. So you should remember these data. Okay. So data number one and data number three are most important. Now moving to the next topic is that significance of indigenous petroleum exploration production. So why are we pushing for indigenization in the petroleum exploration and production of these sectors? Okay, so so why is it important? It is important in order to reduce the import bill. So you already know that 85% of the oil we import from outside. So we have to pay a heavy amount to the foreign players from which we buy or source our energy resources. So in order to reduce this money that is going outside, we has to promote our own productions. Okay, domestic production needs to be increased. So at 85% of the crude oil requirement can be met by indigenous petroleum production and reduce the trade deficit also. Strategic importance is also there. It reduces vulnerability to geopolitical uncertainties. So you already know that Russia and Ukraine were at the war, and what actually was happening is that this due to this geopolitical uncertainty, US and other European Union members, etc., has put a ban on India or the Russian oil and gas. So India was also affected because of those restricted supply chains. So if we have our own domestic production, then this type of uncertainty will be there. Revenue generation will be there because the domestic oil will be being sold in our domestic market, and hence the revenue will be generated through the government. Employment generation will also be taking place because of this domestic oil production. Now, about help. Help is a help is a new scheme that has been launched by the government of India in order to promote the production and exploration of the petroleum products. Okay, so this has been introduced in 2016 and has replaced the new exploration licensing policy. Okay, so NELP has been replaced by HELP. HELP is hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy. So it provides for a single license. What is the most important benefit of this help is that it will be providing a single license to a single player. Okay, so if he is having a license or he is producing hydrocarbon, okay, that is oil or gas or even shale oil, etc., or gas hydrates, etc. So for every type of production, this entity will be given only a single license, and in that license only everything will be covered, that whatever the amount, whatever the things you want to explore and produce, you can produce. Okay, it has shifted from the previous profit share model to revenue sharing contract. So before, the profits were shared, now revenues are being shared. Okay, OLP has introduced to enable investors to select blocks of their choice. So now what actually can these entities, those people who, or those companies who are exploring the oil and also the producing them, so they can select the block of their own choice. Okay, so if this is India, so what will happen? Suppose this is India. Okay, so if a company is going and saying, okay, I will try to explore this, so this company is free to explore this block. Okay, until unless any other company comes up. If and now if this block has been given to a single company, and now another company comes and wants to explore this block. Now this exploration needs to be uh, taken permission by the government of India. Otherwise, if the block is not explored, then any company can go and explore the oil or gas from that. Now, reduce the loyalty rates also. So in this policy, loyalty that is paid to the government of India is being reduced. Rates have been reduced in order to promote the investor confidence. So these are some of the benefits of this health policy. So what are the unconventional petroleum resources? So petrol resources may be conventional as well as unconventional. So oil and natural gases were the energy resources which were conventionally available. Okay, these are trapped in less permeable rocks. Okay, and is referred to as unconventional sources resources because it cannot be explored, developed, and produced by conventional processes. So conventional resources is a term referring to oil and natural gas only. So oil and natural gas are called conventional resources because they are trapped in rocks that is porous and permeable. The natural pressure of the underground rock formation allows oil and natural gas to flow freely up a petroleum bed. Okay, so what actually is happening is that some of the rocks are there. If this is the Earth's surface, so some of the rocks are there, and these rocks are unpermeable. So if there's unpermeable, so petrol products will be stuck in here. So what actually will happening is that when the well is developed by any company, so what actually happens is that pressure is being created at this point. So this oil and crude oil comes out, right? This is very conventional model of exploration. But what is actually happening now is that some of the rocks which are permeable, permeable in the sense they allow for the hydrocarbons to be penetrate from them. Okay, so hydrocarbons are available within the rocks. So those techniques were not available previously. Now what actually is available is that those technologies in order to fracture these rocks and take out the unconventional type of hydrocarbons. So unconventional type of hydrocarbons can be carbon hydrates, okay, methane hydrates, etc., shale gas, etc. So these are some of the unconventional hydrocarbons that can be taken up by the industries because of the technological development, right? So these are the things that is going on in the petroleum exploration and production space. Now, next is those deposits like coal bed methane, CBM, or cold seam gas. It is the methane gas which is naturally in the coal seams. Coal seams means the area where the coal mines is there. So within those coal, the shale gas trapped. So in order to explore that gas, okay, that methane gas. So what actually is happening is that fractures are done in this coal, and methane is taken out from this sector, okay, from this coal bed. So this is how coal bed methane comes out. Shale gas and oil. It is also a natural gas or oil that remains unexpelled, unmigrated, and entrapped within the pore spaces and fractures of source rock. Okay, so that is all. That is also the same thing that I have already talked about. That within those rocks, this was the coal bed, and another can be any rock which is permeable. So methane or another gas can be trapped in these rocks, and by fracturing the rock, by making fractures in the rock, this methane can be extracted from there. Okay, this is called shale gas. Shale gas oil is produced commercially when sufficient fracture conductivity is induced by hydraulic fracturing. So hydraulic fracturing is the technique that is being used in order to explore the shale gas, right? Gas hydrates are also the unconventional type of deposits. These are naturally occurring ice-like solids in which the water molecules trap gas molecules in deep sea sediments in and below the permafrost soil of polar regions. So what actually happens is that in the polar regions, what actually happens? Ice falls. Okay, so ice falls. What actually happens that within those ice, those water molecules that gets trapped, as well as the gas is methane gas. So methane gas gets trapped here. So methane gas along with the water, what actually forms is ice. So this ice and within it, the methane gas is trapped, and this is called gas hydrates. Okay, gas along with hydrates is water. So water and gas together combines and forms a type of sediment the within the within the deep layer that is permafrost soil. So that is how this gas hydrates can be formed. And in order to access this, technological advancements are limited because when this gas molecule is touched upon, what actually happens is that this ice gets converted into water, and this gas gets loosed up. So that is why this technological developments are very low in this gas hydrate sector, but technologies are being developed. So this is all about the exploration and production of the natural gas and petrol. Now, moving to the next sector or next topic is the food processing industry. What is food processing? Food processing is the set of methods and techniques which are used to transform raw ingredients into finished and semi-finished products. So once the raw fruits or vegetables are there, so these are being converted to finished and semi-finished products. This is called the food processing. And Ministry of Food Processing and Industry is responsible for this regulation of these. And a, a product can be called as food processed food if original physical properties undergo a change. If whatever the original physical properties were there, those properties gets changed. It gets transformed. Product is edible. Whatever the product that has come is edible. It has commercial value. Then it comes within the domain of food processing industry. It should be commercially viable. Okay. Now, what have been the initiatives that have been taken by the government in order to promote this food processing industry? Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana (PMKSY). So it is only the central sector scheme. Okay, it doesn't have any participation of the state. Okay, so it is central sector scheme. You should remember, and mega food parks, interior cold chains, value addition infrastructure, etc. gets promoted and developed because of this scheme. So there is another scheme also, Pradhan Mantri Formulation of Micro Food Processing Enterprises. So what this scheme does, so there are many food processing sectors, industries, which have not been formalized and works on the informal space. Okay, that has not been recognized by the government of India. So in order to formalize those sectors, so government has launched this Pradhan Mantri Formulation of Micro Food Processing Enterprise Scheme. So it will be leading to formal recognition to the workers as well as the products that are being produced by those sectors or those companies. What this scheme also does, it provides seed capital. Seed capital means initial capital. So initial funding type of capital is being provided to the self-help groups for branding, and marketing support is also provided in order to make them formal. Okay, in order to make them to come forward and sell their product at the formal stage. So one district, one product also has been scheme has been launched within this Pradhan Mantri Fasal formulation of micro enterprise scheme. Okay. Now, production link incentive scheme (PLI) scheme has also been launched in the food processing industry, which is also one of the important steps that has been taken by the government of India. And this food processing industry has been liberalized by allowing 100% FDI in this sector. Okay, you should remember that 100% has been allowed in food processing sector. If there's a question that comes that only 74% has been allowed, so then that question can easily be eliminated, right? No. Krishi Udan and Krishi Rail scheme has also been launched. Like Krishi Udan is the airplanes or maybe helicopters. These are the helicopters or airplanes are used in order to transport those perishable products from the region where they are being made or they are being produced to the region where there is a demand or the nearby city area. So airplanes and helicopters are used in the Krishi Udan scheme, and in the Krishi Rail scheme, the railways infrastructure has been developed in order to transport those products, perishable products, from the production source region to the demand region. Next topic is the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is a scheme of the central government, and it is largely being taken by Union Rural Development Ministry. Okay. So why is this in the news? It is in the news because a parliamentary panel has asked the Rural Development Ministry to tighten the supervision, as there is a use of the poor quality materials in the construction of the rural roads. So, in order to have a better quality road, the supervision of the roads should be better. This parliamentary panel has said. Okay. Beside it, what's Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana? It is 100% centrally sponsored scheme. Centrally sponsored scheme means some of the amount is being given by approximately 60% is being given by the center and approximately 40% is given by the state. So state and center both give the payment in order to make the scheme operationalized for a longer period of the time unless it achieves its desired goal. So Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is also the centrally sponsored scheme. It has been launched in 2000 and its ministry is Ministry of Rural Development. And what is the eligibility in order to access the road connectivity? It is that in the plain area, population size of a village should be greater than 500 people. So if a village has more than 500 people, then a, a metal road can be provided to the village or habitation that is connecting this village to a nearby city area, right? And in the hill areas, more than if a village has more than 250 people, then this scheme is implemented. Okay. Now, what is the funding pattern? Funding pattern is 60-40 ratio between central and state and 90:10 ratio in the northeast states and Himalayan states. So these are the funding patterns that are taken up. Now, scheme has four verticals: Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana first, second, road connectivity for project for left-wing extremist areas, and Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana third. So it has been launched in multiple verticals. So Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana first was launched in 2000. Okay. Now Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana second was launched in 2013. Okay. So it may not be very much important for you, but what is important is road connectivity project for left-wing extremism affected areas. So this scheme is important, and this scheme is a component of this Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, and it has been launched to construct the construction and upgradation of the strategically important roads, mainly to improve the road connectivity in the left-wing extremist type of districts, okay, and their adjoining areas. So this is important. And the next stage that is being launched or that is working that government of India is working at present is Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, third, that has been launched in 2019. Okay, and it has been launched in order to consolidate the 1,25,000 kilometers of the to connect the major link roads with the nearby cities. Now, this is all about the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Now, next comes is that India becomes the fourth largest stock market in the world. So India has overtaken Hong Kong. Okay, this scheme is this information is only important in order to eliminate the options if any option comes up like this. So India has become the fourth largest market by overcoming the Hong Kong region, Hong Kong stock exchanges. The other top three stock markets are US, China, and Japan. Right. So according to data compiled by Bloomberg, so Bloomberg is an institution which compiles the data, and combined value of the shares listed on the main exchange has reached $4.33 trillion versus the $4.29 trillion for Hong Kong. So due to this, India has become the fourth largest country in the world. Okay, stock market. You already know where investors, both individual and institutional investors, come and trade their securities. Now, where there are two types of stock market: primary market as well as secondary market. And the primary market, what actually happens is that new shares, bonds, etc., are offered for the first time. Okay, if a company wants to get listed for the first time, then it will have to issue its share and bonds for the first time in the market, and this market is called primary market. And in the secondary market, what actually happens is once the company has been listed, already listed in the primary market, now if it wants to trade its share, then it will have to go to secondary market. Right? Existing securities, equities and bonds are traded here. Okay, some of the stock exchanges are like the Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange, NSE, etc.
Wait, chicken,
Realme Plus, please mute yourself. Realme. Okay, regulation of stock markets in India. So, who is regulating the stock market in India? It is Security and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, which regulates the different market intermediaries like stock brokers, stock exchanges, etc. And SEBI is the statutory body under SEBI Act 1992. So SEBI is a statutory body that you should remember. It has been launched. It has been constructed by the force of an act. Okay. Reserve Bank of India also regulates some of the government securities, but those securities which are of lower than 1 year duration. Okay, that T-bills that we have talked about. So T-bills are being regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, direct listing of public Indian companies. So this is the next topic that we have to follow. So center has allowed the direct listing of public Indian companies on the International Exchange of Gift. Okay, Gift IFSC. Okay, so what actually was happening is that once a company is listed in the Indian exchange market, like maybe the Bombay Exchange, BSE, or maybe NSE, so it has to take some of the permissions in order to list itself on the GIFT IFSC. Okay, so now what a center has done is that it has allowed, okay, whatever the company comes up, they can directly list on the GIFT IFSC. Okay, they don't have to take permission. Okay, so companies listing of equity shares and permission jurisdiction rules 2024 has allowed it. The amendment to Foreign Exchange Management Act has also been done. So whatever the benefits that are going to come from this is that it will be giving Indian companies access to the cheaper foreign capital, boost the foreign investments. So what will happen is that this Indian companies will be listed on the GIFT International City. Okay, GIFT International Finance Sector, and here the global investors can invest on those companies. Okay, so they will be having, so those Indian companies will be having access to the wider investor base as well as the money. Okay, now next thing that we are going to discuss is the Aadhaar based payments. So recently, Aadhaar-based payment (ABPS) became mandatory for the Manrega workers. So what government has said that this Aadhaar-based payment system will be mandatory for the Manrega workers. So Manrega, what is Manrega? It gives a legal guarantee for 100 days of the work that you have already know about. The Manrega has utilized Aadhaar-based payment system since 2017 and is now made mandatory. Okay, it was on a voluntary basis till now, and now it will be on a mandatory basis. So government may consider exemption on a case-to-case basis if any Gram Panchayat has either a technical problem or Aadhaar related problem. So if there is Aadhaar related or technical problem, then exceptions has also been provided. Okay. Now, what is this Aadhaar based payment system? So what is actually happening is that Aadhaar-based payment system, it works on the worker's unique 12-digit Aadhaar number. So every Aadhaar number is linked to a bank account, and Aadhaar number is also linked to employment employment ID of a Manrega worker. Okay, so if a person has worked, then his employment ID is mapped to Aadhaar number, and payments are given to this Aadhaar number, where governments the payments are done from government account to Aadhaar account or maybe the bank account of the employee. So this is how this Aadhaar based payment system works. So workers Aadhaar detail must be seeded to her job card. So job card should be linked to the Aadhaar number. Okay. Aadhaar detail must be seeded to her bank account. So Aadhaar number and bank account should be seeded with each other. Okay. Her Aadhaar number must mapped with National Payment Corporation of India (NPCI) data. So this Aadhaar number should be mapped with NPCI data also. So if these all conditions are met, then this Aadhaar enabled payment system works fine. Okay. Now, what is the significance of this move? It will be reducing the corruption by weeding out the fake beneficiaries. So fake beneficiaries will be reduced. It will ensure the speedy payments. Payments will be very fast. So other changes what have been made with respect to the Manregas are National Mobile Monitoring System. National Mobile Monitoring System app has been launched in order to maintain the attendance of the Manrega workers. Secure applications has been established in order to prepare and approval for Manrega works. Okay, so whatever the work will be there, they will be put on the secure application. Geo Manrega, Geo Manrega for geotagging of all completed works. So okay, whatever the Manrega workers do the work, if the work is complete, then geotag is issued for those works, so that it will be visible to the other people on the app. Okay. Project Unnati has been launched in order to upgrade the skill base of the Manrega worker. So so UPSC question may come, what is the Project Unnati? So it will this UPSC will give option A is this, option B is this, option C is this. So it will give very confusing type of options. Okay, so you should remember what is the Project Unnati in order to deal with the prelims related question in this sector, right? Okay, moving to the next topic. Next topic is direct taxes to GDP ratio has rose to 15-year high. So there is a uptrend that has been seen in the direct taxes to the GDP ratio. So direct tax to GDP ratio rose 15-year high in fiscal year 23. Central Board of Direct Taxes data has shown this. So direct tax to GDP ratio is at 6.11% of GDP. Okay, it is one of the highest in 15 years. So in the recent years, what has actually happened is that there's a uptick or maybe increasing trend that is being seen in the tax to GDP, direct tax to GDP ratio. Okay, so before it, in 2021, it was approximately 5%, and now in 2023, it has reached to 6.11%. So you should be familiar with the data, okay, that this direct tax to GDP ratio data is increasing, graph is increasing in India. So direct tax to GDP ratio reached 15 years high. Direct tax to review gives an estimate of the country's ability to mobilize resources to fuel its development. So how the development of the people will be coming? Where will the central government or maybe the state government per se will bring the payment in order to construct the roads, schools, highways, hospitals, etc. So government puts taxes on the people. Okay, those taxes comes as a revenue to the government, and then government spends it, and that is all the process that takes up throughout the year. So so tax to GDP ratio gives an estimate of the country's ability to mobilize the resources. Resources in the sense of financial resources. How many financial resources will be coming up to fuel its development? The development will be taking place by the construction of roads, schools, highways, maybe the hospitals and dispensaries, etc. So tax buoyancy, however, declined from 2.52% to 1.8, 1.18 compared to previous year. So what is tax buoyancy? So tax buoyancy is a term which defines that if GDP has increased, if GDP has increased in that proportion, how much tax collection has increased. So if a GDP of a country is increasing, that means economic value addition is going on throughout the country. If the economic value addition is going on throughout the country, then that means the whatever the GDP is going on, increase in the GDP is going on. So this GDP, whatever the value addition is going on, this value addition should be taxed upon by the government, and those tax collections should increase. So this is what this tax buoyancy is all about. So as the GDP increases, tax collection should also increase. This is what tax buoyancy is. So tax buoyancy has, however, declined to 1.18 in India compared to previous year. So that means the GDP is increasing at a fast rate, but we are not able to increase our tax collection at that fast pace. That is what the whole idea of this tax buoyancy is. Tax buoyancy indicates the measure of efficiency and responsiveness in the tax collection in response to the growth of GDP. So whatever the growth of GDP is there, if our tax collection is efficient and responsive to the GDP, then our collections should be increased. Tax revenues are considered as buoyant. They are buoyant when they increase in proportion to the response of increase in GDP. So as GDP increases in the same process or in same proportion, if the tax collection also increases, then the GDP is buoyant. Okay, tax is buoyant. The recent decline indicates that the current economic growth did not lead to as much of an increase in the direct tax collections. So GDP is growing, but direct tax collections are not increasing at that fast pace. So gross tax collections increased by over 173% to rupees 19.72 trillion in fiscal year 23 as compared to 7.2 trillion in fiscal year 2014. Okay, so there is a increase of 173% in the tax collections, direct tax collections. So initiatives in order to promote, which are promoting the rise of the direct tax to GDP ratio, is corporate tax rate. Corporate tax has been cut. Okay, so once the corporate tax has been cut, sorry, just So what actually is happening that corporate tax rate has been cut, and through it, many corporations are coming up. Okay, so corporates are coming up in India, and those corporates are paying the corporate tax, which is increasing the direct tax collection in India. Okay, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme has been launched by the government of India in order to reduce the disputes of the taxes, and those disputes are those reduction in the disputes are fueling the growth of the direct taxes, which were stuck in the court cases previously. Financial Act 2020 allows the individual taxpayers to pay income tax at lower tax slabs by forging specific exemptions. So exemptions has been reduced. So exemptions has been reduced, and Finance Act 2021 it makes a person to come to the lower slab rate. So many people are increasing and moving towards the lower slab rates, and the formulation in the Indian economy is increasing at a very fast rate, which is driving up the direct tax collections. Other reforms like Aadhaar and PAN linkages, digital technological use like faceless assessment, faceless appeal, etc., and taxpayer charter, etc. So these are the some of the another initiatives that have been taken by the government of India in order to increase the tax mix, direct tax collection of the government of India. So what is this direct tax? It is a primary direct taxes that the central level that are personal or corporate income tax that you already know. Personal income tax or corporate tax are the direct taxes, the components of the direct taxes. India's tax to GDP ratio is completely very low, and currently, what is the tax to GDP ratio is approximately 12%. Okay, we are not talking about the direct taxes. Direct tax to GDP ratio is, as given here, 6.11%. But in but the whole tax collection as a whole, if we talk about the direct as well as indirect taxes, then it is approximately 12% of GDP in India. But what actually happens is in the OECD countries, average tax to GDP ratio exceeds or is greater than 30%. So there's a high potential that India should be paying or Indians should be paying more amount of taxes. But what are the conditions? What are the things? What are the factors which are responsible for this low level of tax to GDP ratio? It is because of the dominance of the informal sector. So much of the economic activity takes place in the informal sector, which is not giving the tax, which is not paying the tax. Tax evasion is taking place. Exemptions and incentives are being taken by the government, by the people, and they are saving their taxes. These are some of the key reasons for low tax collection in India. Okay. Now next is reverse flip. Reverse flip is that many startups are reverse flipping. What is reverse flipping? Reverse flipping is moving their overseas holding entities to India. What actually was happening is that in order to take the benefit of lower taxes rates, Indian Indian startups were moving to foreign countries. Okay, if this is India and this is foreign country, so what actually will this startup do? It will register itself here. It will register itself here and operate in India. And whatever the profits that it takes up in India, on those profits, taxes are paid here in the foreign countries. But their tax rates are low, so they have to pay a very less amount of tax in order to operate in India. So what actually is happening because of the decrease in the corporate tax by the Indian government, those startups that were previously operating from the foreign countries, those are now moving towards India and establishing their base in Indian country only. So this is what is called reverse flipping. Okay, so you can read other things, but this is the idea behind it. And if the question will be coming on the prelims, in the prelims, it will be coming up on this term. What is reverse flip? Okay. Now, Indian iron ore market. So, Competent Commission of India (CCI) has published a study examining the competition in the iron ore market. So, iron ore, you already know, it is composed of magnetite or maybe hematite. These are the two important ores of irons. Okay, and according to the CCI study, iron ore production in India is contributing approximately 7% to the global iron ore production, and it is ranked at fourth largest producer. India is ranked at fourth largest producer in iron ore. So, but there are some concerns that has been raised by Competition Commission of India that iron ore exports are very high. So, from India, export of iron ore should not be there because iron ore doesn't have any value addition to it and brings very low amount of foreign revenue to India. Okay, but what should be done instead of this low value iron ore? We should be producing finished products like steel, and we should be exporting more amount of steel as compared to iron ore. Allocation of captive mines is there to some players creates entry barriers. Okay. Mines and Mineral Development Act 2021 allows the captive mines to sell up to 50% of the surplus iron ore in the open market. So there is very high supply in the market. Differential pricing of iron ore for different end users is likely to create competition concerns. Okay, so there should not be any different price for different end users. So it has recommended to discourage the exports. So export of iron ore should not be there. Instead, high value products like steel should be exported. Okay, valued products such as finished steel should be exported in order to promote Atmanirbhar Bharat, upgrade the quality of the iron ore production and the steel production. Sustainable mining. Mining should be sustainable to promote clean technology adoption and transformation of production process into sustainable mineral production modes. Okay. And next topic is Bharatmala Phase 1 has been extended. And what is important in it is that it is launched under the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, right? Its objective is to optimize the efficiency in freight passenger movement across the country. So, across the country, passenger as well as the goods movements will be efficient and effective at very fast pace. So this is the objective of this Bharatmala Pariyojana, and it wants to increase connectivity in the northeast as well as improve the efficiency in the of existing corridors. So this is what the benefit or the objectives of Bharatmala project is there. So features of Bharatmala Pariyojana: satellite mapping of corridors is being taken up. Technology-based automated traffic surveys are being taken up. So technology is being used in order to map the traffic, and original destination study for fleet movements across 600 districts have been taken up. Okay. So there are many components of Bharatmala. It may not be important for prelims. So it is beneficial to leave it. Now, 2023 study of list of domestically systematically important banks. So Reserve Bank of India, what it does, it releases 2023 list of domestically systematically important banks, DSIBs. These are systematically important due to their size, cross-jurisdictional activities, complexity, and lack of substitute and interconnection. It means that the bank is too big to fail. So what actually happens is once a bank, we are not talking about the branch, we are talking about the bank as a whole. So if the bank's bank has the deposits in it, if the deposits and the value that is present in the bank becomes very large of the GDP, okay. So if this bank fails or it becomes bankrupt, then what will happen is that whole economy, whole economy of India will go in the shock. So that is why what actually happens is that additional measures have been taken by the Indian RBI. So what RBI says that you have to maintain some more deposits with you so that you don't become bankrupt very early, even if some of the loans becomes non-performing assets. So that is why this list is being released by the Reserve Bank of India every year. What it does, it identifies those banks which are very big in India, and failure of them, what will happen? Because of their failure, whole economy may collapse. So RBI has identified three banks: State Bank of India, HDFC Bank, and ICICI Bank. And what is the benefit of identification of these type of banks is that they have to maintain, these banks have to maintain additional common equity tier 1 CET1 requirement as a percent of risk weighted assets. So whatever the assets are there, what are the assets of the bank? Assets of the bank. Assets of the bank are the loans that it has given. So whatever the risk of these loans, on these loans, eh, some percentage of money is to be taken aside, taken aside. So it can't be used by the bank in order to give those loans. So that if these loans get defaulted, if these loans get defaulted, then there should these loans can be serviced through those the money that has been taken aside. So that is why this measure has been taken by the government of Reserve Bank of India, and it identifies the domestic systematically important bank. So it is not an Indian innovation only. These banks are also, some of the foreign banks are also being recognized by international players, where domestic, globally systematically important banks (GSIBs) are also being recognized. Okay, and they also have to maintain some additional CET1 capital. Okay, so Financial Stability Board (FSB) releases the list of globally systematically important banks. So globally systematic bank list is being released by Financial Stability Board (FSB). Okay, so I think the time is limited with us. We have much to cover. We will be covering it tomorrow again in the same class. Okay, so we have done till domestic systematically important, and Payment Infrastructure Development Fund (PIDF) scheme. यहाँ से हम from here we will be starting to. Okay, okay everyone.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
okay, okay. Okay. Good night, everyone.